rhetoric and writing. So I see that some of the questions that various ones of you have submitted, some of them are about the formatting, which is the main subject of today's workshop. Others of you have some issues related to writing. I will answer those as best I possibly can. I want you to feel free to ask questions at any point throughout this workshop, because the whole point of doing this workshop is to give you an opportunity to ask questions. I will ask our GSA co-presidents, Christine and Imral, to watch the chat for me while I'm doing the presentation and to call attention to important questions. So your questions are all welcome and very important to this workshop. Okay, I'm going to begin by sharing with you a little bit of information about the process of submitting your manuscript for formatting check and what those deadlines are like after you complete your thesis or dissertation defense. And then after spending about 15-ish to 20-ish minutes on that, then I will shift over to showing you some of the technical details about how to set up the formatting for your manuscript so that once you're done, you can pass the formatting check quickly and easily. Let's see, where has this handout gone? Maybe it's here. Okay. Do you see a handout that says dissertation resources and info for UA Little Rock grad students?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing that I want to go over with you is the process. So the first thing that you need to do is schedule your defense and get through your defense. You do not submit the manuscript to us for formatting check until after the defense. Here are the deadlines that are always the same from year to year. So if you are planning to graduate this semester, then you need to have your defense on or before December the 1st. And let's actually check and see what day of the week that is. That is a Thursday. So yeah, that date will be firm. That is the week after we come back from Thanksgiving break. So that is going to come up faster than you are probably prepared for. Make sure and get your drafts done very far in advance so that you can make that deadline. So in order for you to graduate in December, we must have your defended manuscript in our office by 5 p.m. on December the 1st. If you're after that, then you'll still graduate, but your degree will not post until May. So that's why that's a particularly important deadline for you to hit, and there is no wiggle room whatsoever in it. Okay, spring graduations, the deadline is May the 1st at 5 p.m. Summer graduation, August 1st at 5 p.m. If it should happen that one of these dates falls on a weekend, and I think for the next academic year, it does not. So these dates will be these dates. But if you are here in advance and in a couple of years, maybe your deadline falls on a weekend, then the deadline is always pushed to the following Monday. So if December 1st is a Sunday, for example, then the real deadline will be Monday, December 2nd. And these dates are all on our website, which I'll show you in just a moment. You will submit your manuscript to us through email at the address there that's on the screen, gradtdreview@ualr.edu. And I will give copies of these handouts to Christine and Imral so that they can distribute them to all of you who are here today. So don't worry that you're going to miss the address. I will give it to you later. Finally, all of you are responsible for following the guidelines that are in the dissertation and thesis guidelines PDF, which I'm going to show you where you can get it, but I will also give you a copy through Christine and Imral so that you can have one that is yours and that you don't have to go download if you don't want to. Okay, so let me share with you a different screen. Okay. You should be seeing the UA Little Rock graduate school homepage. And I want to show you where to find the dissertation and thesis resources when you're on this page. So look up here at this little menu that goes across the top, future students, current students, graduate assistantships. All the dissertation and thesis materials are in this section called current students. So we're going to click that. And then you'll notice that the third link down the resources is thesis and dissertation guidelines. Notice it's also over here in the left-hand margin where also is the Graduate Student Association. I'm going to click here. And you can download the thesis and dissertation guidelines PDF directly from this link. Here also is that email address again for when you're ready to send it in for review. And here is a link to an older video of this workshop, which by the way is all still current. So basically you can go and watch this again and again as many times as you want, whether you do it through the GSA webpage, which will have the most current workshop, or whether you do it through our webpage. I do want to show you one nice feature of this particular video. So here I am on YouTube, and if you watch the video on YouTube and you scroll down, notice that in the information section, the grad school has actually broken this out into timestamps, which is great because sometimes you don't necessarily need to watch the whole hour and 20 minutes again. You just need to see one part of it again. So if you go to the workshop from the grad school webpage and look and follow the YouTube link, you'll notice that all of the things that we're going to cover today are broken out by timestamp so that you can watch just the section that you want. Okay, any questions about that before I go further? Okay, let's stop that share. Let me go back to the other share. Okay. So the good news and the reassuring thing that I want to share with all of you is that if you have emailed your manuscript to us by these dates and you have passed your defense, then you are going to graduate. It doesn't matter how long it takes us to get back to you about that formatting. You have satisfied the requirements for graduation. Now, having said that, there are some things that you will need to do to wrap this process up after you email us the manuscript in order for you to get your diploma. So let's go over those. Okay, so the formatting check process. Once you email your manuscript to us, it may take anywhere from 48 hours to a couple of weeks to get comments back from us. That's because it's basically me and my GA, Daniela, and Daniela is doing the bulk of the work, who are doing the formatting check. This is why it's very much to your advantage to defend earlier if you possibly can and not wait till the end of the semester, because the closer it gets to the end of those deadlines, the more likely it is that we are going to be snowed under with tons of manuscripts and we may not be able to get them back super quick to you. But what I want you to remember is that sentence in bold. This does not affect your graduation date. So again, don't panic, don't freak out because you haven't gotten the comments back, but also don't forget to keep looking for the comments because you still have to make changes. But as long as you defend and submit on time, you are going to graduate. Okay, so a thesis or dissertation formatting editor will contact you to let you know if you must make changes to comply with the dissertation and thesis guidelines. Believe me, when you've been staring at your thesis, as long as you guys have been staring at your thesis, you will miss stuff. So we are an extra pair of eyes to make sure that everything is cleaned up before we upload this manuscript into ProQuest, which is an international database where anybody can actually use your research as a basis for their own research. So basically, this is a publication process, and it takes the place of what we used to do, which was physically binding them and sticking them in the library. Now, you can have your thesis physically bound if you want to, but most programs do not require this anymore. Check with your program coordinator if you're not sure. Okay, so once we send you the changes, then you need to make the changes and then upload your manuscript directly to ProQuest. You don't send it back to us. You don't send it to your chair. You follow this little link right here to upload your manuscript to ProQuest. That link is also in the thesis and dissertation guidelines, which you can find on our website. When you submit the manuscript to ProQuest, then ProQuest will notify us again that you have sent us something. They're going to ask your chair of your committee to approve it, and they're going to ask us to approve it. We're just going to look at the formatting to make sure that you did the formatting things that we asked you to do. Your chair will make sure that you made all the changes that your committee may request. So sometimes, well, okay, frequently it happens that when you get into your defense, the committee may still ask you for a round of revisions, and your chair will guarantee that that gets done. Make sure that your chair is looking for the email from us, because this is another thing that can sometimes hold it up. Most of the chairs are very good about approving their students' thesis or dissertation to be published in ProQuest. But occasionally they get busy and it slips out of their mind. You might have to nudge them. When both the editor and your advisor approve the manuscript, your transcript hold will be removed, enabling you to receive your diploma and your official transcript from the university. So again, when you've met the requirements, your degree posts, but you can't get a diploma or an official transcript from the university until the ProQuest submission has gone through. And that hold will be there forever unless it actually gets uploaded and approved. Finally, your diploma usually arrives 4 to 6 weeks after your commencement ceremony. It's actually going a little bit faster these days, so I don't want to get you too excited, but it might be closer to 2 to 4 weeks right now because their processes are getting better. Please make sure that your mailing address is correct in BOSS, because that's where they're going to mail the diploma to. Okay, finally, I said I would come back to this point about having the thesis or dissertation bound. Like I said, most programs don't require you to get a hard copy of your project bound anymore, but everybody is allowed to do that if you wish. The cost is about $28 a copy. You have to pay for binding at the cashier's office in the Student Services Center across from the DSC. You know, it's where student accounts and financial aid and all those folks are. And then here's the obnoxious part. So you go over to the cashier's office, you pay them $28 per copy that you would like to have bound. Then for whatever reason, our bindery does not accept electronic copies from us. So you have to print out the copies that you want bound and bring them to us with your receipt from the cashier's office. And then we will ship them off to the bindery for you, so you don't have to pay those shipping costs. They will ship it back to us. This process frequently takes about 4 weeks. So again, if you, for any reason, need a bound copy of your thesis or dissertation, please get the manuscript to us early enough so that, for example, if you're going to leave the country after you finish your degree, that we can get your hard copies back in time. Okay, any questions about the process of submitting your manuscript, the deadlines for submitting your manuscript, and what happens after you submit your manuscript? Okay, we'll go on. Okay, last but not least, if your advisor approves, and you must ask your advisor before taking this step, you are allowed to hire an editor to help with sentence level editing, including grammar and punctuation and formatting. So, for example, programs that might not be as excited about this and not willing to let you do it are my program, Rhetoric and Writing, because we kind of expect all of our graduates to be able to do their own editing. Mass communication probably would frown on it. Applied communication might frown on it. So check with your advisor if you are not sure whether they allow editors. But for example, if you're in the Donahue College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, they frequently look very favorably upon you hiring an editor. So let me make you aware of some facts in case you're allowed to do this. Editors are freelance professionals. They are not employed by UA Little Rock. You as the client are responsible for contacting the editors, informing them of your deadlines, and paying the rate to quote you. They may request to see your manuscript before quoting you a rate, because their rate may depend on how much work they're going to have to do. Some manuscripts are very easy and quick to work through, and others take longer. They may decline to serve as your editor if they don't believe they can complete the work prior to your deadline. So on this version of the handout, I have 3 editors listed, and since then I've had another editor, Dr. Mia Phillips, agree that she would also like to be listed. So again, when I give this handout to the GSA folks, I'll have this information for you. Do you have any questions or concerns about the process of hiring an editor or whether you're allowed to hire an editor?
No.
Okay, we'll go on then. Okay, with that said, we're ready to start to get into some of the technical details about how to set up your front matter. I'm going to go over with you all of the things that we're looking for when we check your thesis or dissertation manuscript to make sure that it's correct. And I will give this handout again to Christine and Imral so that they can go through it. As you can see, this handout that we're going to be working from today is about 9 pages compared to the 30-ish pages or so that the actual thesis and dissertation guidelines are in. So the advantage of this handout to you is, number one, it compresses the instructions that are in the thesis and dissertation guidelines to a smaller extent, and it gives technical details about how to do what's required, not just what's required. To do this, I'm going to actually show you a sample document, which we will again share with you in Microsoft Word. Now, you are not required to use Microsoft Word for your thesis manuscript, but the problem is that you are still required, regardless of what you use, to follow these guidelines. So yes, you can do it in Google Docs. You're still going to have to output it to a PDF, no matter what you use. So you use whatever software you want. But if it's not Word, I'm not demonstrating any other types of software today that show you this process of how to set up the front matter and the page numbering correctly, which, by the way, stupid as that sounds, is probably the most difficult part of this process. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing with you the Word document that I will give you all so that some things you will not have to actually type yourself. Some of this you'll be able to just fill in. And after watching this workshop, you'll be able to know how to fill in the information correctly. All right, here we go. And let me scoot my little Zoom bar out of the way so that I can type over here. Okay, so this is the very first page that everybody needs to have on their thesis or dissertation. And let's talk through how to complete this. All right, so any place you see these little brackets, these are things for you to fill in. Don't leave the brackets there, take them completely out. The important thing to notice here is that this is in all caps, and I need your title to be in all caps. So I'm going to hit the caps lock, and I'm going to type, we're going to pretend that I'm making a dissertation. All right, so there's your dissertation title, My Brilliant Dissertation, 3 Years of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. In this next little section, you need to pay attention to the wording. So if you're a master's student, then you're writing a thesis. You can leave this the way it is. If you're a doctoral student, you need to change thesis to dissertation, and it needs to be capitalized. Notice just the front letter is capitalized, not all of them. And yes, we will return your manuscripts to you if you have something miscapitalized. So your attention to detail is absolutely critical here. Okay, so then you don't have to do anything here. A dissertation submitted to the Graduate School, University of Arkansas at Little Rock in partial fulfillment of requirements for the degree of. And now you're going to put your degree here, and it's going to be just the title of the degree. So for example, if you are working on a PhD, then what I type here is Doctor of Philosophy. Notice I type out the degree name. I don't put PhD there. So you don't abbreviate, you type out the name of the degree. If you are not sure what the actual title of your degree is, check with your advisor. They will help you with that. Okay, so type the name of your program title. And so we'll just pretend that that we're doing a PhD in computer and information science in the department of, and here you actually have to choose because computer science and info science are different ones, and you'll need to ask about that. In the Department of Computer Science, in the College of, actually for those of you who are in DC STEM, you'll do this. Of the Donahue College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, like so. For others of you, let me go back and do that again because it's slightly different for the other two colleges. So let's switch degrees and we'll pretend that we are doing a Doctor of Philosophy in the Department of Criminal Justice. And criminal justice is in the College of Business, Health, and Humans. Oh, it even knows. How smart. Like so. All right, if you're not sure what college you're in, be sure and ask your advisor for help with that. Okay, we're going to come down here. We're going to type in the month and year of graduation. Okay, so no specific days on the calendar, just the month and the year. It's not when you defended. It's when your manuscript is getting accepted. So again, you only have 3 choices, right? December, May, August. All right, so for all of you graduating this semester, you're going to type in December 2022. Okay, if you're graduating in the spring, that's May 2023. If you're graduating in the summer, August 2023. We're gonna come down here. Type your full name as it appears on university records. That means what BOSS has for you, and you have to type it exactly the way it is in BOSS. So, by the way, if you don't like the name that BOSS has for you, you should submit a name change pretty soon if you're going to graduate this semester so that change can go through and you can have the name that you prefer listed on your diploma and your thesis or dissertation. So because BOSS has my middle name listed, I'm going to have to type out my full name like so. And then this very last line, it says type your previous degrees, awarding institutions, and conferral years here. So I'm going to type, let's pretend this really is me and I'm really working on my PhD. So then my next most recent degree was my MA in English. 1993, University of Utah. If you are an international student and you did a degree outside the United States, you can feel free to add a comma here and put in your country if you want to. And then same thing for my BA. Okay, and that's all there is to that. Do you have any questions about this first page? Okay, let's go on. All right, next page is a super easy page. There are only 3 lines on it. Again, you're going to take this out. Put your name as it appears in BOSS. And all it wants here is the year of your degree. Boom, that was super easy. Let's keep going. All right, here, my friends, is the page that is the single most screwed up page in dissertation and thesis formatting. So let's talk through this very carefully and be sure and ask me questions about how things do and do not apply to your thesis and dissertation committee. Okay, so the first thing, this thesis, and it stays in quotation marks, and you leave this comma inside the quotation marks. Delete all that out. And notice that it is not in all caps here. Oh, and if it's a dissertation rather than a thesis, how about we change this? this dissertation. Okay, so type it, I check and make sure this quotation mark is at the front. I check and make sure the comma and the quotation mark are at the end. Then I take this out and I type my full name again. Take out the little bracket, make sure that comma stays put. Okay, and now you're ready to fill out your committee members. Okay, so the first person you're going to start with is your thesis advisor. I'll pretend that it's Dr. Carter from my own department. Find out how they like their name to be listed and make sure that you know how to spell it correctly. There is nothing more embarrassing or poor manners than misspelling your thesis committee's names. Notice that when I put this in, I don't put any credentials before or after her name. So I don't put Dr. Joyce Locke Carter. I do not put Joyce Locke Carter, PhD, just Joyce Locke Carter. And then I erase this little example line out. Okay, the next thing that they ask for is the person's academic rank and department. It is very important for you to understand that their academic rank is not their job title. So for example, even though Dr. Carter is the chair of the Department of Rhetoric and Writing, I do not put chair Department of Rhetoric and Writing. I put her academic rank, which for most of your committee members is going to be assistant professor, associate professor, or professor. Occasionally you might have research professor or visiting professor, but most of the time it's going to be assistant professor, associate professor, professor. She is a professor. She's fully tenured. So all I'm going to type is professor of rhetoric and writing. And then I erase out the little example line. Okay, now pay attention to the formatting here. Notice that I don't have to put any little line for her to sign on because we're not going to ask for any physical signatures. All of the approvals go through electronically, nor would we want to upload people's signatures to an international database like ProQuest because that's just asking for identity theft. So notice that when I'm done with this, her name should be lined up with the line thesis advisor, and all there is those 2 lines. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, good. Let's proceed with other members of the department. So let's say, for example, that the next member of my committee is Joseph Williams. And then I erase out his line. And Joe is an associate professor of rhetoric and writing. Like so, super easy. All right, let's start getting into some more creative cases. Some of you, of course, will have committee members who have to be from other universities. So how do you list them? Well, same pattern. Let's say, for example, that Janice Lauer is from Purdue University is on my committee. Then I list her academic rank and department, and then which university she's located at. Okay, questions about that? All right, let's do another crazy case. What if you have a member of your committee who works in industry and they're not actually on the committee, or excuse me, not actually at UALR? All right, still same thing. So let's make up an employee. We'll make Imral a doctor. Okay, and let's pretend that Imral works at NCTR. So we'll call him the director of research. So notice here we do put his job title and we put the organization where he works. And by the way, it's never good to have like this bump out onto a line, like everything needs to line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push the whole name of where he works onto the next line so that it lines up. Very neat and orderly. Any questions about that? Okay, do any of you have committee members who are not either here at UALR or working at another university or working in industry? Do you have any strange cases that you have questions about how to properly credit them? Okay. If not, then come down here to your program coordinator. And again, follow the same pattern. And actually, I believe Heidi likes to have her maiden name included, like so. Always be sure to ask your committee members what their academic rank is if you're not certain about it. It's never rude for you to ask. They will always be happy to fill that in. And then you do not have to touch this line at all. So the graduate dean is Brian Berry. He's associate professor of chemistry. You do not list him as dean of the graduate school. It already says graduate dean over here. You don't put Dr. Brian Berry. You don't change this to professor of chemistry. It's just the way it is. You don't have to touch anything. All right, my friends, this page is done. Do you have any questions or concerns about this page? Because man, if you can get this page right, I'd say half your burden is off. Okay, let's continue to scroll. Another super easy page, the fair use and duplication page. Okay, the only thing you need to check here is under fair use, check, are you writing a thesis or are you writing a dissertation? If it's a thesis, you can leave this alone. If it's a dissertation, please come in here and change the word thesis to dissertation. Same thing under duplication. It says duplication of this thesis. If you need to, change it to dissertation. Okay. You have a choice to make here about whether or not you want to authorize the library to make hard copy versions of your thesis. So for example, it's going to be uploaded in ProQuest and half the universe can get it there anyway. Under very rare circumstances, somebody might write to the library and say, would you make me a physical copy? I can't think of any reason why you would say no, but you do have the choice here. So if you want to say yes, then leave this little paragraph, changed if you needed to, and just delete all the rest of it. You don't have to leave the signature line and stuff in because nobody physically signs these things anymore. Oh, hey, I did mistype dissertation. Let's fix that. Okay, if for whatever reason you do not want to authorize physical copies to be made, then take out that, scoot that up a little bit, and take out that. And then that page is done. Any questions about this page? Okay, I didn't think there would be. Okay, then here we are on the abstract page. And again, this is a relatively easy page. So again, I'm going to take out the brackets and I'm going to put my thesis in all caps. By your name as it appears in university records. And by graduation date, it again means just the month and year. Like so. Okay, then there's this heading here, and you can copy and paste your abstract, or you can type it in here. Speaking with my writing hat on, let me give you a brief recommendation regarding your abstract. Your abstract is not the introduction to your thesis. Notice, for example, that they do actually have word limits. So if it's a dissertation, this can't be more than 350 words. If it's a thesis, it can't be bigger than 150 words. The key thing for you to think about in writing your abstract for your thesis or dissertation is you want it to summarize the entire project. You don't want to just tease people. You want to actually say kind of you can almost do it in 4 to 5 sentences where like the first sentence is, what is the problem you were investigating? The second sentence is, what methods did you use to investigate it? The third sentence is, what were the key findings? The fourth sentence is, why is this important? You want it to be as complete as possible because, as you probably know from doing your own research, when you are searching for articles or manuscripts in a database, you look at the title and the abstract as usually some of the first things to decide whether or not to read any further. If there's anything that's important that's missing out of the abstract, then people might decide to go on to the next thing. And you ideally want them to read and cite your work. That's one of the ways that you build authority within your discipline. So please write a good abstract. I know it has to be short, but don't just write the introduction or copy and paste the introduction from your actual thesis in here. It needs to be a very concise summary of everything that's contained in your manuscript. Okay, questions about that? All right, hearing none, let's scroll on. All right, so once you get past the abstract, I've now kind of simulated a thesis with some paragraphs and some headings, and I formatted the way that many word processors do automatically, and we're going to talk through the kinds of changes that you need to make to get this set up for your formatting process. Let me stop this share for a moment and go back to the thesis formatting handout so I can give you an overview of what we're about to do. Okay. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the margins, and keep in mind that there are different margins depending on whether your manuscript is going to be electronic only or whether you're going to physically have it bound. Okay, so if you plan to have the thesis or dissertation physically bound, please set the left margin to 1.5 inches. That gives us a little bit of extra room, so because it's going to crimp the edge when they actually put the binding on it. And that will still give you a nice looking margin on your interior. The top, bottom, and right margins can be 1 inch, but the left margin needs to be 1.5. By the way, it would not hurt for you to remind us when you email us your manuscript if you're planning to have it bound, because if you are occasionally, so again, so few people have it bound that we're used to looking for 1 inch, and it's nice if you remind, hey, I did deliberately make it 1.5 inches because I'm getting it bound. If you're not binding any paper copies, then your margins should be 1 inch on all sides. All right, this little section here that I made for you is like worth all the price of admission to this, because this takes a huge page in the thesis and dissertation guidelines and condenses it to a half page that explains how your page numbers need to be. Okay, so let's talk through this section of the handout very carefully. All right, in bold are the things that everybody, regardless of whether you're writing a thesis or a dissertation or what you're writing, everybody has to have these pages. So title page, copyright page, signature page, fair use and duplication release, and abstract. All of you have to have that. You might have a dedication if you want to. If so, that goes after the abstract. You might have an acknowledgements page. If so, that goes after the dedication. If you had to submit your research for a protocol approval statement, and by that I mean IRB or hazardous materials or animal research, if you have a protocol approval statement, you are required to include that, and it goes in this order. So remember, you can leave out these 2 pages. You can leave out this page if you didn't have a protocol approval. Otherwise, all these things have to be here. And then this little dotted line is to show you, you don't put page numbers on any of these things. Okay, so I don't want to see any page numbers of any kind on any of those first pages. But here's the goofy thing. You still count them as if there were page numbers. So this is still page 1, even though it doesn't have a page number on it. Potentially you could have page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 before you get to the first page that has a table that has a page number on it, which is your table of contents. Okay. So everybody is required to have a table of contents, and these pages below the dotted line get numbered in small Roman numerals. So notice if I have these 5 pages, the next page number that the table of contents would be is little Roman numeral 6. If you've got a protocol approval statement, it's little Roman numeral 7. So that's one of the big tricks that I'm about to show you today, is how the heck do you get in the same document some pages that have no page numbers, some page numbers that have little Roman numerals. And then when we get to step 3, which is your thesis text, that's supposed to be in Arabic numerals in the upper right corner. This will make you tear your hair out, but it's actually not as hard as it may sound. You just need to know where the commands are. Okay, so everybody is required to have a table of contents. If you have any figures or illustrations of any kind, whether that's charts, whether that's drawings, whether that's photographs, they have to have their own little table of contents. And then for whatever reason, if you have tables, they don't get counted as figures. Tables get their own table of contents. You may have a list of symbols, abbreviations, and nomenclature. You may have a preface. Notice these are only if they apply to your project, but everybody has got to have a table of contents. All right, again, this is one of the most complex pieces of the process. Do you have any questions about what the front matter has to include and what page numbers it gets? Okay, so in a moment, I'm about to demonstrate that to you, okay? So we're going to first set our paragraphs to double space, and then I'm going to show you how to fix the spacing, because not only in Word 2007, but pretty much every Word after that, they don't set their stuff to double spacing. So let's go fix that first, and then we'll work our way through the rest of the way through this handout.
Dr. Carell?
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a question in the chat.
Oh, okay, I need you to, call attention to that because I don't see them.
Is there a Word template for Mac that has these? He's got Office 365.
Yeah, so this is in Office 365 for PC. I would welcome anybody who is working in other formats to donate templates, but because I don't have a Mac, I can't make the template in a Mac. I've had other people ask for LaTeX. Again, I would kill to have this template in LaTeX, but I do not have it. So I would welcome any donations for the good of future graduate students if anybody would like to use my PC templates as a starting place and make this for other formats. Great question. Wish I had a nicer answer. Okay, let's go back to the template. All right, so here I've inserted 3-ish random pages of text for us to play with formatting. And so the first thing we notice is that the margins are set to 1.5 as if we were going to bind it. We don't want to do that. Let's highlight this text and change them to 1 inch all the way around. Like so. Come here, little triangle. There we go. All right. So now our margins are 1 inch all the way around. And the next thing that we need to do is fix our paragraph spacing. So again, I'm going to highlight all of this stuff. And what you want to look for in whatever software it is that you're working for is a place where it lets you control the paragraph settings. So in Word 365, we're going to come to the little paragraph thing on the ribbon. I'm going to click this tiny little arrow that's sitting in the right-hand corner here. And this is where you can change all your paragraph settings. So for example, the first thing I'm going to do is, for whatever reason, they put in automatic spacing after the paragraph, which I do not want. So I'm going to change this from 10 points to 0.
Dr. Corral,
And then over here in the line spacing, I'm going to change this from multiple at 1.15 to double. Now notice when I do that, the at box just
Dr.
goes
Corral,
blank,
you're not
and that's
showing
100% cool.
your screen.
Dr. Corral,
Yes.
they're not seeing. What
Oh,
is it?
hell.
The MS Word screen?
Yeah, hang on. Oh, it says my screen sharing is paused. I wonder why. All right, let's try this again. Okay, now do you see Word?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let me go back then. Thank you for catching that. I would hate to continue to go forward with you not able to see my screen. Okay, so I'm going to back up 2 steps. And show you what I did again. All right, so the first thing I did was I fixed the margins. And I just picked up these 2 little triangles and scooted them here. And scooted them here. And then I came up here to the paragraph section on the ribbon. Notice we're in the home tab. So I look at paragraph, I click that little tiny arrow right there. Okay. And here's the stuff that's frequently screwed up. So they're in the spacing section. In fact, if you've got goofy things going on with your paragraph spacing ever, it's almost always these little boxes right here. So notice it put in after 10 points of space, do not want, turn it to 0. Change the line spacing to double. The at box goes blank. That's good. And I go, okay. Now it's all fixed. So this is what you're looking for. You're looking for exactly the same amount of space in between all the lines. All right, that's step 1. Okay, step 2. We want to apply styles to the headings and the subheadings. This takes a little bit of extra planning on the front end and will save you insane amounts of time on the back end, because once I apply styles to the headings, then I can get Word to auto-generate a table of contents for me, which I can then auto-update no matter what changes later in the thesis. Once you've seen this, you will never, never go back to manually typing your table of contents ever again. All right, so watch what we're going to do. All right, so this is the main level heading in my document. That is a heading I would want to appear in my table of contents. So I highlight it and I come over here to this section called styles. And notice that currently the style is normal. I need the style to be heading 1. Okay, so I click that. Now look, it did a stupid thing. Like it indented it, which I did not ask it to do. And now my spacing is messed up. So now I need to come in here and modify this style so I can fix the formatting to be what it ought to be. So I roll my cursor over heading 1 in the styles box here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose modify. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is come down here to the format box. Why is this stuff grayed out? This is a new surprise. The styles gallery. No, maybe it doesn't matter that it was grayed out. It's going to let me pick it. All right. Here are the things that I need to fix. Number 1, again, the spacing. Look, who would do this? Why do you want 24 points of white space on top of your freaking heading? So no, turn that to 0. Fix it and put it back at double space. and go okay. And then okay. And then let's grab the stupid margin again and scoot it back to where it belongs. There we go. All right, that looks good. Okay, now this main section is going to have little subsections. So this is the first subsection. We're going to make this a heading 2. Notice not a heading 1. Heading 2. All right, now I'm a little concerned because I should see my heading 1 up there and I might have accidentally screwed it up. Okay, let's go back. I think when I unchecked that box, I messed something up. Yep, see there it comes back. Let's try modifying this again. Okay, so don't unclick the add to the styles gallery thing. That actually was kind of important. Okay, now we'll come in here and apply a style again. This time we're going to apply heading 2 again. Stupid formatting. Fix that. Fix that. And modify it. And the good news is that once you modify the heading style, you'll never have to modify that part again. So it automatically adopts it. So in this particular case, I do not really want my font to be italic. Just plain bold is fine. And then I'm going to check the paragraph. Turn that off. Turn this to double. I'm going to look at the tabs real quick just for a sec. Nope, it doesn't have a tab. So keep wondering where that weird indent is coming from. Okay. All right, good. Now that looks nice. Now look at how much easier this is going to be going forward. Once you've defined the style the way you want it to exist the first time, now when you have future headings, I can just come in here. See, I want to figure out how to get rid of that tab. That's really annoying. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but it doesn't matter. I just move it back over. And let's say this is another subheading. Scoot it back over. And I guess it's kind of good for you to see that these things happen because different versions of Word act very differently. And so it may just be that I opened this document in this particular version of Word and it's got different controls set in, which reminds me of a really important warning I want to share with you. Once you start doing your formatting in a particular type of software, let me highly recommend to you, if at all possible, that you always do your formatting on the same computer every time with the same software. I had a poor lady one time who worked on her dissertation on 3 different computers because it depended on what computer lab she was in, and it involved 3 different versions of Word. And she was in tears when she came to my office because her formatting was so messed up because the different versions of Word were overwriting each other. And so ultimately the file got corrupted and we had to strip all her formatting, put it in a notepad document and start over from scratch. So for that reason, whatever word processing or other software you use to start this process, stick with it on the one computer so it's always consistent. Okay, so let's imagine now that this is a new heading 1. I apply its style, scoot it back over, heavier, like so. And I think that's the last heading in the document right now. Okay, so we've done two things here. Number one, we've made it possible now that every single heading that you create in the document, you'll be able to format correctly simply by going to the heading section and highlighting it and changing it. You'll never have to go, all right, now I have to change the font. Now I have to change the spacing. Now I have to change the size. Once you have defined a style and you've applied it consistently, then you can do it with a single click going forward. Was there a question?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Ben was saying that if you right click the heading 1 style, you may be able to edit the definition to remove the spurious ended.
Under modify?
Van, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I have unmuted myself. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought it might be a right click thing. And I would say right click modify and see if you can't get to some ruler controller or some
Well,
way.
yeah, that's what I was looking for is, I mean, I was trying to figure out where they put it. I mean, typically, I would think that would be a tab issue or a paragraph issue. I mean, let's just look at the paragraph. See, what I don't see
Yeah, it's
is
not there.
like there's no indentation there. And
Yeah,
if
no,
I
not
click on tabs, there's no tab.
Right. Okay, so try the other one.
Which one?
Cancel out of here and then your format tab. See if it was, it's probably going to take you back to the same place you just went.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did you
So
check
again, I'll investigate, but that's really annoying. And you should not have to keep dragging that thing over. But
All right,
thank you for at
let's
least
try.
trying to help me figure it out. Okay, so once you have, now here's the whole reason, I mean, aside from the ease of formatting your headings going forward, here's the whole reason this is worthwhile. When we apply a heading 1 or a heading 2 or even a heading 3, if you've got that many levels in your document, and by the way, please notice that typically you get smaller and less bold as you go on. So like notice here, we're at an Arial 14. So our next level heading down, like this could have been a 12, but like since it's an 11, the next one down would need to be a 10 or a 9. You don't want to go smaller than your body text though. So since this is Calibri 11, probably eventually I would change that to a 12 so that people can easily see where the headings and subheadings fall. But the other benefit of this is that you've now basically told Word where pieces of your text live. And once you've done that, it knows what page these headings are on forever. And it can make your table of contents out of it. So now we're going to do the third complex step of this, which is putting in the table of contents and applying the page number correctly. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the table in there. So I'm going to come to my first page that has text on it. And I'm going to insert a table of contents. So I'm coming over here to the References tab. And notice over here in the left-hand corner is Table of Contents. Notice I can click the little arrow and I can choose a style for it. I happen to like Automatic Table 2 because it's called Table of Contents instead of just Contents, and I like the indents and stuff. So I'm going to pick that. Notice it dumps it in the top of my document. And there's much for us to fix here, like we're going to have to fix the margins and the spacing and stuff again. But for now, at least we've got a table of contents. And the only thing that, of course, is annoying to us is that number one, it's not on its own page. And number two, all of the page numbers are wrong. So let's talk about how to fix that. Okay, so we're going to put our cursor here where it is beneath the table of contents. We're going to go to the Insert tab now. And we're going to insert a page break. So notice that's the third option here, page break. Okay, that has pushed this over onto the next line or onto the next page. And now our table of contents is sitting on a page by itself, which is what we wanted. Okay, so now one of the things I want to show you real quick here is, so obviously we changed the page numbers because we pushed it onto a different page. Notice that I can just come here now to update table and update the page numbers with a single click like that. And this works every time, no matter how much you add to it, as long as your headings have styles. So this is awesome because, like, let's say your thesis chair says, you know, I don't really like how you wrote that. Sometime I need you to just take out the word workplaces, and instead of rhetorical, let's say composition theory. Okay. And you're like, oh, great. All right. I've got all these changes that he's asked me to make in these headings. What a pain. But look, I can go back to the table of contents and do update table. And if I do update entire table, it'll change the headings too. So look, that subheading just changed automatically. So you'll never have to type out your stuff over and over again on this page if you fix it the one time. While we're here, I am going to sit here and move this over. Oh, hey, that wasn't cute. Let's take the whole freaking table and scoot it over. There we go. And go back to the home tab and take a look at the paragraph. And make sure that it is double spaced. There we go. All right, now that's looking good. And then the last part is probably your advisor is not going to want your table of contents to be blue. All right, I made it the right thing. Actually, not blue. There we go. Better, much better. All right. So now this last thing, right, is we've got to get the table of contents to have the right pages on it. We're going to have to get a little Roman numeral to show up down in the bottom here. And we're going to need to get the right Arabic numerals to show here. And we're going to have to do all of that without having page numbers show up on these pages above it. So let's walk through this process. Okay, so on the table of contents page, which is the very first time that I want a page number to appear, I'm going to double click in the bottom of the page. So notice I'm sticking my cursor down in the middle of the center and I double click. All right, and that opens up the footer. Paying attention to what these header and footer boxes say is the most important part of this formatting process. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is notice that it's a little bit too close to the bottom. I need it to be, I need to preserve the 1 inch all the way around. So footer from the bottom, I'm going to increase that to 1 inch. All right, so that's going to be the same. Okay, then I'm going to insert a page number. I need to be at the bottom of the page. And I need it to be in the middle of the page. So I'm going to choose plain number 2, like so. Okay, so notice it puts it there. It's not little Roman numerals, but it's there. All right, so now let's format it so it's little Roman numerals. Okay, I highlight the page number, come back up here. I'm going to choose format page numbers. And notice that there's a section here called number format. So here's where I can change it to little I. You choose that. You leave this, continue from previous section. And okay. All right, so now you've done the first step right. You have got a little Roman numeral 6 down here. And the only problem is you've also got little Roman numerals on everything. So now we have to get rid of them. Okay, so I'm going to click back down here in the footer. And what we're going to do first is we're going to break these sections apart from each other. So notice right now, it just says header and footer. Eventually, we want to actually have 3 sections. So section 1 is going to be the part that has no page numbers. Section 2 is going to be the part that has little Roman numerals. And section 3 is going to be the part that has the Arabic numerals in the upper corner. All right, so we're going to scroll up to the page before the table of contents. And I'm going to put the cursor here beneath the abstract. It doesn't really matter how far down it is. It just needs to be beneath the abstract somewhere. And we're going to go back to a layout tab. And we're going to see this little tiny breaks here. By the way, this is kind of counterintuitive to me because we noticed when we did a page break before, you did it from insert and there's page break. But we're getting ready to do section breaks. And so those are in layout. We go to breaks. And what we're going to do is, so notice here a bunch of section breaks. We are going to do a next page section break. Okay, notice that didn't really visibly change anything, except it pushed the cursor over into the next page. But watch what happens when I click in the footer now. Now we have footer section 2 and we have footer section 1. So this is good news for us because now we've split this into 2 sections and now we can break this section from the previous one. So with the cursor sitting next to my little Roman numeral 6 under the table of contents, see this little gray box? It says link to previous. You want to unclick that all through this document. So I'm going to unclick it there. And now they're broken. And now I can go to footer section 1 and delete the page number. I said delete the page number. There. And now look. So now all the page numbers are gone off these first pages where you're not allowed to have them. But the little Roman numeral 6 is still at the bottom of section 2. Okay, so now we need to do the same thing again with this section. So now I need to put the cursor beneath my table of contents. Oops. Come on. I said beneath the table of contents. Okay, same process, right? We go to layout. We insert the next page section break. Boom, our cursor bumps to the next page. Now we're going to have to break the link to previous thing twice. All right, so double click up here. Look, you know we did it right because there's footer section 2 and now we have a section 3. Okay, I'm going to unclick link to previous because I don't want to put any little page numbers in the top of the others. And I'm going to put my cursor down here and again, unclick link to previous. So that breaks that. Now I'm going to take off these page numbers. Gone. Now I'm going to come up in here. I'm going to keep my margin at, oops, 1 inch from the top. Insert page number. It needs to be at the top of the page. It needs to be in the right-hand corner, so we choose plain number 3. There it is, but it's a little Roman numeral. So we format page numbers. We do not continue from the previous section. We change this to the Arabic numerals. We start at 1. Okay. Boom. Let's see. No, that's how it works. Yeah, so the little Arabic numerals in the corner, like so. Okay, and now the last stage is fix the table of contents. Whoops, let's actually put our heading back up where we want it to go. And of course, it's doing the stupid indent thing again. Okay, so back up on the table of contents, we click update table. And in this case, the only thing we changed was the page numbers. And now all the headings and subheadings appear on the right page numbers. Okay. I also like it to indent the, oh, that was dumb. All right, actually, this is a good thing to show you. I'm not really sure why. Usually it automatically indents the subheadings for me, but if it doesn't for some reason and you want to do it, then I would do it up here from the increase indent button under paragraph, because notice that the tabs are set to have the little dots, which by the way is again a lifesaver because it looks so unprofessional when your dots don't line up. So auto-generating your table of contents the way we just did will make sure that all of your dots line up. And then you can push in your subheadings like that. And that's all there is to that. And so notice that once you've done that too, if you'll do this when you start the project, then let's just imagine for whatever reason that I copy a section of text and paste it at the end. And let's pretend that's a new subheading. And now I come back up to my table of contents. So it knows when you put in another section of the document, and you can update it over and over again. Okay, and then you can actually do the same things if you've got a list of figures that you need to add. If you come to the references section and you use the insert caption button, the same way that we did insert table of contents, or excuse me, if you do insert caption underneath your images, then it's like putting a style heading on the image, and then you can insert a table of figures and Word will automatically generate your table of figures too. So once you understand how that works, you can save yourself an insane amount of time trying to type those pieces, and you can have Word generated for you. And that is pretty much all I needed to show you today. Do you have any questions about anything in that process? Christine, are there questions in the chat I need to address?
No, ma'am, I don't see any. Dan is saying thank you for a great presentation.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind.
He
So-
also offered, if you send over a Word Office dissertation template, he can transfer it to a Mac template.
Who volunteered to do that?
Van Warren?
Okay, yeah, if you would put your email address, I would be thrilled to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, he put it in the chat, but
Oh, okay.
if he put it in there, then that would be helpful because it's you're getting a lot of thank yous.
Yep, we are past our time now, so if you need to go, please feel free to go. But if you want to hang back and ask any individual questions about stuff that applies to your particular project, please do.
And then I've got Van's email. I've got it in my email actually. So I will get that to you. And then if you get me the handouts and stuff, I will
Yep, I
make
sure
sure to
will.
forward that. Huh?
Yep, I sure will.
Okay. There were a couple of students that could not get in no matter what. I don't know what was going on. I sent them 3 different links, but I did let them know that it would be uploaded to the website today.
Right. And the
So-
grad school version of it is up permanently on our website too. So anybody